Hey, I'll see you in Rutherford, New Jersey, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Ontario, California, Davenport, Iowa, Las Vegas, Chicago, and Grand Rapids, Michigan. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. So here, this guy's a doctor, and he's in Congress, and he gets to grill Dr. Fauci about, well, let's watch, and this is fun.
Why would I be criticized by a bureaucrat for doing my very best as a healthcare? This is a rhetorical question. But why? Why would the government, who's never treated a patient for COVID? You can read all the things you want, but you're not there. You're not seeing patients. You're not watching.
So this guy actually treated people for COVID, and he's grilling Fauci, who's never treated anyone for COVID. Fauci's not a clinician. He doesn't treat people. And he's saying, why do you get off criticizing me? I'm actually treating people. And you, the government, here we are.
People die, intubating patients right there with that disease in your face, watching it happen, watching the development of this disease and actually learning from it. But I'm being told by bureaucrats.
And just so you know, Dr. Fauci lied about everything. He lied about the origin of the virus. He lied about funding the origin of the virus, which is the COVID Wuhan lab. He lied about masks twice. He lied about herd immunity. He lied about natural immunity. He lied about transmission, contraction. He lied about vaccines getting us out of the pandemic. There wasn't a thing he didn't lie about. Just so you know. You remember that movie, The Dallas Buyers Club? The bad guy in that movie is Dr. Fauci. People forget that. That movie, which, what's his name, won the Academy Award for that?
Matthew McConaughey.
Matthew McConaughey.
It was debunked. I remember when it came out, and it was a
he won the Academy Award for that. The bad guy in that movie, Dr. Fauci. People forget that. Okay, here we go. Let's enjoy this.
What's right and wrong. And what's funny is everything I was censored on, I was proven to be right.
He was censored.
Pretty crazy, isn't it? You said in an interview that you gave as part of an audiobook written by Michael Spector.
Now listen to this. So he's got a piece of audio that Fauci did when he's being interviewed for a book. And listen to this garbage. And it's very cathartic to have it thrown right back in Fauci's face. Here it is.
That you believed an institutional should make it hard for people to live their lives so they'd feel pressured to get vaccinated. Could we run the audio clip on that, please?
You think can be done about it. I have to say that I don't see a big solution other than some sort of mandatory vaccination. I know federal officials don't like to use that term.
Once people feel empowered and protected legally, you are going to have schools, universities, and colleges are going to say, you want to come to this college, buddy? You're going to get vaccinated. Lady, you're going to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Big corporations like Amazon and Facebook and all of those others are going to say, you want to work for us, you get vaccinated. And it's been proven that when you make it difficult for people in their lives, they lose their ideological bullshit and they get vaccinated.
So he's saying that we need to give big corporations legal protection so they can make it life hard for people unless they get vaccinated, and then they lose their ideological bullshit. Questioning science and being right about it, Fauci was referring to as ideological bullshit. Fauci was the one, again, who lied about everything. And if you questioned it, he called you a conspiracy theorist and full of ideological bullshit. Well, here's what this doctor says.
Thank you. Are all objections to COVID vaccinations ideological bullshit, Dr. Fauci?
No, they're not, and that's not what I was referring to.
Well,
let me finish.
I made the Hippocratic Oath bullshit.
No, that's not what I was referring to, even though that's exactly what I was referring to, and you just played the audio of me saying that's exactly what I was saying. Let me finish. I meant that, no, of course, ideological bullshit is something else, not the thing that it obviously means what I said. And
ideological bullshit, Dr. Fauci?
No, they're not, and that's not what I was referring to.
Well, in reference to making it hard for people to get education, traveling, working, I'd say it very much was in context. And I take great offense to this. Miss Allison Williams testified before this committee about losing her job because she sought an exemption for ESPN's vaccine mandate, which came from recommendations from bureaucrats like yourself. She and her husband were actively working with a fertility expert, a physician, on how to get pregnant, and agreed with the premise that she was young, healthy, wanted to get pregnant, and shouldn't get the vaccination for medical purposes. But she was fired because you made it hard, just like you said in your statement, because you didn't want to make sure that the ideological bullshit got in the way of her working, of living her life, of making a medical decision with her healthcare professional. I think America should take great offense to this. That's exactly what you meant when you said making it hard for people to live. without getting a vaccination. You affected people's ability to work, travel, be educated, to actually flourish in American society, to self-determine, as we're all given God-given rights. Shame on you. Dr. Fauci, you've become Dr. Fear. Americans do not hate science. I don't hate science. The American people hate having their freedoms taken from them. You inspired and created fear through mask mandates, school closures, vaccine mandates that have destroyed the American people's trust in our public health institutions. This fear you created will continue to have ripple effects over generations to come. You have already seen its effects in education, in the economy, and everything else. Quite frankly, you said, if you disagree with me, you disagree with science. Dr. Fauci, I disagree with you because I disagree with fear. And with that, I yield.
And that is the face of a psychopathic, sociopathic liar. That's what Dr. Fauci is. He's a psychopath and he's a sociopathic liar.
I'm a public servant.
Yeah. And so now here is another congressman who's just going to read him a litany of all the lies and crimes. He doesn't even care what Fauci has to say. This is what I love.
I'm going to go through a list of COVID mitigation measures that you supported over the course of the pandemic and ask you to give me a yes or no as to whether you believe these measures were justified. Business closures.
Early on, when 5,000 people were dying a day, yes.
Church closures.
Same thing.
School closures.
So he's standing by the locking down. Now, I'll show you a video in a minute where he denies recommending locking down the country.
Yes, I would do it again.
Now he would do it again. Yeah, I would do it again. Even though now it's been proven that lockdowns did nothing except actually negative stuff. He still stands by it. That's a true sociopath, ladies and gentlemen.
Again, the
stay-at-home orders.
These were important when we were trying to stop the tsunami of deaths that were occurring early on. How long you kept them going is debatable.
Mask mandates for adults, mask mandates for children, mask mandates for children under 5.
And going back to what I said before, all of that is in the context of, at the time, 4,000 to 5,000
mandates for children under 5. There's scientific evidence for that.
Excuse me?
Mask mandates for children under 5. There's scientific evidence supporting that.
There was no study that did.
No, there was never a study. The mask mandates were never based on a study. They never pointed to a study and said, this is why children should be masked. Here's a study. This is why kids on schools should be masked. They could never point to a study because it wasn't one that existed. They just made it up. And it was all to scare the shit out of everyone so they could control you.
On kids, before you couldn't do the study, you had to respond to an epidemic that was killing 4,000 to 5,000 Americans per
vaccine
day.
Mandates for employees, vaccine mandates for students, vaccine mandates for military.
Vaccines save lives. It is very, very clear that vaccines have saved hundreds of thousands of Americans.
COVID vaccines?
I'm not debating. We're talking about COVID-19. Did or do the COVID-19 vaccine stop anyone from getting COVID?
I answered that question to the chairman. Early on, it became clear that
they did.
No, actually, no. In the beginning, it clearly prevented infection in a certain percentage of people. The durability.
What percentage would that be? 1%? 2%? It clearly prevented transmission in a percentage of people. He doesn't tell you the percentage. Why? Because he is a criminal and a sociopathic liar. That's why. And because Pfizer admitted, under questioning at the European Parliament, that they never even tested their vaccine to see if it stopped transmission. They didn't even test. So how would he know?
Ability to prevent infection was not long. It was measured in months.
And they didn't stop you from spreading it either.
Early on, it did if it prevented infection. But what became clear that it did not prevent transmission when the ability to prevent infection waned.
So here he is lying about, just blatantly lying about recommending lockdowns. Now he's standing by him again, because he's being questioned by Congress. Now because he
schools if you had to do it all over again?
Well, again, it's first of all, I didn't recommend locking anything down. You're asking me questions. You're talking about the CDC is the public health agency. I recommended to the president that we shut the country down. And that was a very difficult decision because I knew it would have serious economic consequences.
No, I just said turn out the lights and everyone can run around.
Yeah.
As long as they have a
Down
mask.
schools if you had to do it all over again?
First of all, you're asking.
Well, again, it's first of all, I didn't recommend locking anything down.
Okay. That's just a blatant sociopathic
Just play the
liar.
clip of him. They should play the clip of him first before they ask him the question.
Exactly.
They should.
Why
Yes.
not
Don't ask the question.
They don't have the technology?
We'll do what they did with Chris. We got Chris Cuomo with it, right?
Yeah. Let's watch those. Watch this. Orf put this together.
Do you regret particularly the last one, the shutdown, the sweeping shutdown that some said made things worse?
No, I don't, Neil. And in fact, I think we need to make sure that your listeners understand I didn't shut down anything. I recommended to the president that we shut the country down. And the only way to do that is by draconian means of essentially shutting down a country. We know that we can do that if we shut down.
Well, I think one of the things you really need to do, to the extent that you can shut down temporarily the country, I think is important.
Well, if I knew at the time that shutting down would have such a dramatic effect on controlling the spread, obviously we would have shut down earlier. There are those who say you shut down you destructive things by disrupting the economy. And others say, well, if you save so many infections by shutting down, why didn't you shut down 2 weeks earlier?
But I don't regret saying that the only way we could have really stopped the explosion of infection was by essentially, I want to say shutting down. I mean, essentially having the physical separation and the kinds of recommendations that we've made.
You've been a big fan of Cuomo and the shutdown in New York. You've lauded New York for their policy. New York had the highest death rate in the world. How could we possibly be jumping up and down and saying, oh, Governor Cuomo did a great job? He had the worst death rate in the world.
No, you misconstrued that, Senator.
Oh, no, that's from that. That's where that's from. Okay. So there, just another taste of Fauci just being a sociopathic liar, and that's all the video I could grab from today's testimony.
I even forgot about him. I'm just thinking about how they got Trump for filming the wrong thing of paying that whore.
Yeah,
that's what outrages me, Jimmy. Not my kids that can't talk and they're
that's right
devolved.
Or my other kid,
kind of gene therapy.
My other kid who committed suicide because of the lockdowns, the isolation, the increased anxiety.
Yeah, no,
not because of my kids who started cutting.
What's done is done. But this thing that Trump did,
this thing Trump did.
Stop to it.
Are you Sleepy Joe who has zero cognitive performance, scared of walking upstairs without being worried you're going to fall down? Do you struggle to muster the focus and brain power for basic things in life, such as eating ice cream and riding a bike? This is selling coffee by making jokes about the president. You need to stop drinking woke liberal coffee and start your day by drinking Rumble's very own 1775 coffee. I think that sounds silly. There's no such thing as woke coffee. There's just coffee. But they do. But guess what? They have this Rumble has their own coffee, 1775 coffee. Never mind that it will be the best tasting coffee you have ever had in your life. As in seriously good. Steph drinks it. She likes it.
I do.
Now, I only drink decaf, so they don't have decaf right now, so I can't tell you, but Steph likes it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's also ethically sourced. That's important. That sounds woke to me, if you ask me the truth. It's also ethically sourced from a family farm in the high-altitude mountains of Bolivia. So instead of waking up tomorrow morning and drinking your mold-infested, big corporation-owned woke ideology coffee, come on with the woke. That is probably making you sick from the pesticides it's sprayed with. That might be true. Try Rumble's 1775 coffee. Support freedom of speech and build a parallel economy that actually values you. Now, I'm all for that. Go to 1775coffee.com right now and pick up your first bag. Use the code DORE, that's DORE, and you'll save you 10% off your first order. Steph's favorite roast is dark. That's true. You won't regret it for a moment. Level up your morning routine with a bag of $17.75 coffee and sleep well at night, knowing that your hard-earned dollars are going towards supporting freedom-loving creators like me on Rumble. You come see me on tour in Rutherford, New Jersey, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Ontario, California, Las Vegas, Davenport, Iowa, Chicago, Illinois. We're doing a live panel video show, special surprise guests on that show, and Grand Rapids, Michigan. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets, and make sure you go to Jimmy Dore because they don't want to buy it from a second reseller.